Oh, hello. I am Little T Bicky, tEtE. That's me. Y'all, I am coming to you with my brand new show, Perspective. Perspective is a talk show where you can tell your story, your story, your individual story from the perspective, from the point of view of grace through God, through Christ. Let me give you a good example. I look back on my life, and well, before I look back, while I was going through my life, I was like, woe is me. Why am I going through this? Why this is happening to me? Why? You're going through the storm. It's hard for you to see anything good, in it. But after, when you get further ahead and you look back, you see it was good for me to do that or go through that or experience that, to witness that. It was good for me. And then to realize that there were certain things in your life where you saw God. You saw that there was something bigger than you. Some things you shouldn't have made it through. Some things right now you should be cuckoo a little bit. Some things were just, there had to be a God. There had to have been something greater. Perspective. So starting it off is going to be myself. I had a Facebook show, and I was basically telling my story as of what was going on then. I experienced, I went through staying in my car, went through learning that I had this disorder called lupus. I've learned that friends that I thought were friends, and not saying that it wasn't friends, it was time, it was time for us to grow and for us to be in a different place in our lives, and I no longer have those friends. I experienced a tremendous amount of things in a short period of time. That is what caused me to, hey, I gotta tell somebody, I gotta say this, I gotta share this. And then me being older, I'm 43 now, I'm learning that sometimes it's good for you to talk about things, to talk about your life, to talk about what you're experiencing, your feelings, your thoughts, your concerns, to say those things out loud. Those things help you. They're very therapeutic. I think that a lot of therapists, what makes them so good is that there's somebody to listen. There's somebody to hear somebody out. Usually when you have a conversation with somebody, they're trying to get their bit in. So they talking over you, and they not giving you opportunity to say what all you need to say. And there's things that you should have said and you couldn't say, and you're trying to rush to say whatever you're trying to say because they're going to come in and chime in and cut you off. And what you might have to say might be a blessing to somebody else. Perspective. So let's get into it. Perspective for me, and I'm just going to start it. God's point of view of my life is, and I'm just going to start it. I have my notes here. I always knew that there was something different about me. I always knew that. I always knew that I was strange. I always knew that I was a peculiar type of person. Being young, or better yet, before me even coming into this world, it was said that my mom was supposed to have children. She didn't need to have children. My mom is a sickly person. She's been sick all her life, and she's even sick now, and God bless her, to overcome. And she calls it a bump, to overcome her bump. She has cancer. To overcome it, but she's been sick all her life. So doctors told us that she shouldn't have kids. She's not going to have kids. That's just not the best for her and her body. But that March the 10th, 1980. Here come I. I am the first out of two girls. Me and my sister. My sister came later, but me came out, was the first one, and oh my God, I do not. I'm not even gonna pretend that I remember being a child. I do not. I I try my best in knowing that this show is coming up to think about, childhood and things like that. There's one story that I remember being young, and this is something that my sister and my mom always bring up. My sister, so I was like a tomboy, okay? Like a tomboy. I was a tomboy. I was the one that playing in the dirt. I was the one that climbed the trees. I was the one that loved Tonka trucks. I was the one that I didn't want no Barbies. I didn't want no Ruffles. I didn't want no girly shit. I didn't want none of that. That was it now for me. I was so into the boyish stuff, and so I climbed trees. My sister, being the youngest, she's 3 years behind me. Yeah, 3, I believe. She's 3 years behind me. And my sister wanted to get in a tree, and I really don't know how the hell my sister got up there, but I know I was up there. My sister came up there, got caught up in whatever the hell it was, and she's damn near about to kill herself, hang herself. So I run in the house, fume, to go tell my mom and them that, hey, my sister tells us in the tree. She's in the tree. My mom and them weren't trying to hear shit I was trying to say. And my smart ass mouth, okay, well, I guess she gonna hang herself. And I remember leaving, walking out the house. I remember a tinge of things. Walking out the house and leaving because they weren't listening to me. And they finally, came to her rescue and her aid. That is as far. Oh, and smothering my sister. My sister, I played with her. I just did crazy shit to my sister. And I don't know what the world. I was playing something, acting something on a show or something, and took a pillow and smothered my sister. I wasn't trying to kill her. That wasn't my intentions. I was playing. Scared poor baby's life. It scared her. It did. She says it to this day. It scared her life. I'm sorry, sissy. I don't know what the hell. I just was a kid, but I had a vivid imagination. I oftentimes went into my mind and thought about things, worlds and creating things. I was weird. I was a weird child. I know I was. Speed up, come into a place, play basketball. But if I wasn't playing basketball, I was in the house. And I was in the house watching TV. I was in the house. I love shows. I love movies. I love watching TV, and that's what I did. And in these shows, I see myself, I fantasize a lot. I put myself in these other worlds, it was my escape. It was my place, by myself. It was my place where I was protected. It was my place where, I was free. I was free to be myself. I was free to be me, At a very young age, I remember looking at girls, but I didn't really horn in on it. I just remember looking at girls and admiring girls and admiring women. My mom's hands, I loved her hands. I love how her hands were, older but wrinkly, but I love it at seeing how women were so strong and yet I wouldn't say weak, but had a sensitive, softer side. I remember looking at women and thinking that these women are so, wow. A woman is so powerful, is so strong, is so magnificent, and thinking these wonderful things about women and guys, my understanding of guys. My understanding of guys. Oh my God. So, I have to come back to that because that's a part of something else. But admiring women and being strange. My grandmother, I remember, had us um, in church at a very young age. Um, she was and I forgot what they called her, but she was the one who opened the doors of the church, closed the doors of the church, cooked for the church, cleaned the church. She was the first one there. She was the last one to leave, which closed the doors, opened the doors, same thing. She had us in drill team. She had us in Bible study. She had us in weekend church. She had us in BTU. Anybody remember that drill team? We said our Easter speeches, Christmas speeches. Granny had us in everything dealing with the church. It was our thing. All of us cousins, we always at grandma's house, at granny's house. And that was our thing. We were the face of the church, damn near, because we was always there. And and granny had like it was a lot of us. So we were always at church, and that was my introduction into now that I know more of religion. It was bringing me into faith, into believing, into seeing God, but it was more, at that time, religion, because all we knew is to go to church, to go to church, go to church. But it was when I got older that I understood, this God, this Savior. We heard about it, but I didn't have a deeper understanding of this big God until I got later on in life. And so that was my foundation. My grandmother and my mother laid a foundation in our lives to believe in something greater than ourselves. So when me being mixed with crazy, I say crazy because me and my mom had to talk about this. It wasn't the fact of crazy. It was just, I was funny, back then is what she called it. But for me, I felt strange. So for me being strange and then having this faith and then knowing that there's something greater, in the world and being introduced to this was just a lot, not a lot like overwhelming, but it was my life. Then coming into a place where, and I don't even remember where it started. So one of my older cousins molested me at a young age. Now, in molesting, I think after a while, because it went for a long time, after a while, I don't think it was molestation. Because I looked for it. Not looked for it, I knew that it was coming. I knew every time this person was around what was going to go down. I knew that he was going to get me by myself because I was a child that liked to, watch TV. So I was always in the house. I was always in the house watching TV. And this cousin always... Every time this person came around, he didn't stay where we stayed. He stayed somewhere else, and we usually see him in the summer, But there were times where his family and them came down, And every time, here it is, this deal. And it got to a place where I was a little older in my teens, my young teens. And I remember being scared because I was like, I knew that this was wrong. I knew this. I already had this, every time it came around, I knew that this was wrong. I also knew that I was intrigued. This was something different. This was something else. I became accustomed to what was going on, And in the process of me being older, and this is something that I never talked about openly. I talked about it with myself. I don't have a problem talking to myself or talking. Sometimes I know I'm talking to myself, and then other times I know that I'm talking to God. But saying things in my hearing is basically what I'm doing. I haven't said this out to other people, so you're in for a ride. Well, I ain't gonna go into details. I don't think the details really matter because I'm growing from that. I'm learning to not point fingers. I'm learning to not hold grudges. I'm still working on that. God's still dealing with me on that, on holding grudges, because I hold a grudge. I'll hold a grudge for a long time. I'm telling you, bro, I'll hold it for a minute, but I'm learning to love me and be all right with me and accept me and understand that I don't come wrapped in this beautiful package. Again, perspective, looking back at my life and not putting my life down, but seeing that some things work together for good. All things work together for good. And I'm not saying that me being molested was, I'm just saying that in my life doesn't have to be in my future a negative thing. A thing where I have to dwell on. I have to stay on. I have to, I fucking hate, I think for a minute it did build a negative thought towards men. So speeding forward, looking at women and knowing that I have this here and these thoughts and feelings in my head and understanding that right now I don't see men rightly. And then some of the men I say a man in my life that I see on a regular basis, he wasn't giving me a good image of what a man was supposed to be. How he treats someone that I love. This wasn't right. This is not right. I can do better than that, I remember saying, I can do better than this man. I can be a better man than this man. This is what I said. And I'm being honest with myself and being honest with you. Again, Perspective is a show where you talk about sometimes you just need to let shit out. And then sometimes what you let out, you'll realize that you weren't by yourself. You weren't on your own, that there was other people that dealt with something like that, and they went crazy thinking that it's just them. It ain't just you, baby. But anyways, carrying on. I began to think that men were shit. They were not good men. Now, I'm not discriminating the men that were in my life, because there were men that were in my life that loved that woman, that worked hard, that provided, that they didn't want to see the downfall. Their whole motive wasn't about negative shit. Their motive was about life and providing for the family and being there, showing up, But I didn't see that. I just saw the bad. I just saw the negative. So I'm like, I can do better than this man. So when I went to college, and I finally was by myself and away from my family because it was a fear for me to come out to my family because we were raised in a church. My grandmother was a very God-fearing woman, and this is going to be hell if I come out with this situation. So no, hold this thing. Get out here, I was away from home, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And I did. My first girlfriend in college, found out that motherfucker, she was fucking with some other girl, and it wasn't what I thought it was. She wasn't really my girlfriend. She was just doing something and realizing that I've never done it, and she trying to turn me out, but yet she's in love with this other person, and I found out because towards the end of me, because I had to leave college because we couldn't pay for it anymore, she comes and tells me that her girlfriend was cheating on her. And she's crying about it. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm having to be this big person and be this counselor, not just counselor, but this shoulder to cry on, for somebody that I was like, I didn't love her, but I liked her because this is my first, But I got through that. Went with the second female, because I left college and I met this girl on this chat line. And back then, chat lines was big. I mean, especially for lesbians. It was big. But the crazy thing was, that's how I think everybody got to intertwine with everybody, because this person fucking that person, that fucking that, everybody fucking everybody. But on this chat line, I met this lady. This lady was older than me. At the time, I was just young, and I knew that I wanted to be the stud. Stud is just one who is more masculine. Back then I was masculine. I thought I was a nigga. I thought I can do better than a man. and came out. I was this personality, Taz. Taz was the first one, and then Corey, and I'm just speaking in. So the deal with this second girlfriend, me and her broke up. She was very controlling, is abusive as well. I knew as a stud back then that I didn't want to be, because this is what men did. I didn't want to be that one who hit women. So I wasn't gonna be a stud that hit women, So she was abusive towards me, but I never with her. So we finally broke up and decided that it wasn't gonna work. But I didn't want to go home because I was doing my life. I was living my life. So we had this deal because she was in a townhome, and I was gonna stay with her. We were both free to do what we wanted to do. I had to pay half the rent. She paid half the rent. We just split everything. Now the whole time I'm going to clubs. I was a clubber. I was out there. I was in the groove. And she was dating, this stud. And this stud came to the house. They slept together and everything. I just mind my own business. Go to work, go to club, come to the house, do my own business. Till one day, I went to the club and I met this number 3. I'm not saying anybody's names, y'all. I just, number 3. When I saw this woman, the whole club, and I'm not fantasizing about this. This is what I saw. Like I said, I have a vivid imagination, and I already knew that there was a God out there. I saw this woman. There was an angel behind it. The whole club went dark. Whole club went dark. I only saw this woman, and then when I seen this woman, there was an angel standing behind her. Wings, everything, praying behind her. It was kind of up, like behind her, but like tall. Mesmerized. I had to have this woman. Now, back then I wasn't a person that chased women. Women was chasing me. They was trying to get to me. So this was the first woman that I saw and I pursued. I got her, being my charming self, Corey, charming self. Charming was this image of man that I believed that I was. And got with her, and we were together for, I think, about 3-4 years. Strong. I think we never parted ways or anything. But the whole time, I was cheating. I was cheating my ass off. Now, before the cheating came, because I wasn't a cheater, I was faithful. I wanted to be better than a man was, the image of the man that I thought, men were. Before the cheating, me and number 3 were coming to number 2's house that I shared with number 2. And so number 2 didn't like this. Crazy bitch. She just, oh God. I remember one day me and number 3 were laying in the bed. Number 2 bust through my door, yelling about whatever the fuck she was yelling about. It pissed me off. It made me mad because, like I said, she's been having whomever she came, whomever been coming to the house, I ain't said shit. Been going to my room, doing my own business. She come bust through the door yelling about something. I stood up and I punched her. This is my first time retaliating back on her. Punched her, broke her jaw, the bottom jaw, dislocated. My first time. Y'all, in the midst of this happening, that was a surge of power that came through my life. It was this thing that happened. I don't know what the fuck happened. I started to smell myself. That's when Corey was ignited like a motherfucker. I started cheating. I started being abusive. I started hitting number 3. Number 3 was a sweetheart. Number 3 was the love. She was a good woman. She was strong. She was independent. She was everything that I knew women were or women are to me. Everything. And my black ass started cheating, hitting everything. So coming into this woman wasn't a type of woman that gave up. She was the type of woman that if she says she loves you, she loves you. She ain't never been with women before. I was her first woman. She's up with men up to this point. And she loved me. She loved me. I've never been loved like I was loved with this woman. She loved me. Everything about me. This woman knew where I was when I was cheating every time. Don't know how the fuck she knew. She knew. What she'll do when I stayed out too long, she'll call me. It's time for you to come home. She'll tell me whoever the fuck the person was, where they stayed at. She knew all this information. I'm like, dude, you got somebody following me, chasing me. What the fuck? She knew every time. And she still welcomed me home. She still wanted me home. This woman loved me. I've never been in love like this. This woman loved the hell out of me. Fast forward, coming to the end of me and her being together. And this whole time, God is basically like, there's certain things, like I wasn't reading the Bible. Certain songs I hear, they'll be what it is. But, and I forgot to say this here. Go back before I came out. So, before I met number 2, I did come home for a little while. I was looking for, this is when I was on the chat lines and this and that. So, one of my cousins saw me with the woman, number 1, in college. Told my grandmother. My grandmother first, I was at college, she called me and said, hey, blase, blase, but then come in, right, go for it, because my grandmother's very blunt. She gonna tell you how she feel. Your cousin told me that he seen you with a kissing a woman. Are you up there? Are you gay? Scared as fuck. No, Granny. No. That was my first time she asked. No, Granny. She believed me, left it alone. Came home, fucking with me, because now my hair cut off. I'm dressing differently. My mannerisms are differently. It's something I can't hide. I went in and told, I think it came up again, but eventually I told my grandmother. My grandmother's the person I told first before I told anybody else. My mama, my sister, anybody else. My grandmother was the first one. Told my grandmother. She was not mad, disappointed, not mad. What she did, she opened up the Bible. She told me to read, oh God, I used to always know this in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the Acts, Romans. Romans chapter 1, I think it's verse 8. It's the one that says God will turn you over to a reprobated mind for you to do whatever you want to do. Had me read that, prayed for me or with me, and she said, have you told your mama? Do you want me to be with you to tell your mama?